Well, hello there, good people of the world. You may notice there is no piece of furniture behind me, and that is because we're going to be working outside today. My name is Crys'Dawna. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, hit the subscribe button. If you're not new here, welcome back, friends and family. So the piece of furniture we're going to be working on is outside. It's nice today. We're going to be doing things outside. But I want to show you guys, especially for those of you who are just starting your furniture painting journey. I know when I first started, I started painting with things around my house, whether that be things that I had bought from Walmart or IKEA or something like that. And so today I'm gonna show you how to paint a piece of furniture that is not solid wood. And we're gonna be using Wise Owl products. So I'm gonna show you how to, like I said, paint a piece of furniture with Wise Owl products that is not solid wood. And this will be good for those of you who are beginners, or maybe if you're not a beginner and you want to paint a piece of furniture. This is for one of my clients. It is going to be black, so I'm also going to show you guys how to get a really nice finish with black paint, because sometimes that can be a little bit tricky. But we are going to transform this piece, and I'm going to show it to you here in a second. I'm going to pan over it so you can see it. We're going to transform this into something that's like meh, into something cool and modern. This is the dresser that we're going to be painting, and I wanted to make this video for you for two reasons. One, I wanted to show you that if you can't afford a whole new set and you have something that's kind of particle board, or you have something that's like this, you can repaint it and make it look totally different. And two, a lot of people are just starting out this furniture painting journey, and I wanted to show you guys that these are good pieces to practice on and really hone in on your skills or get comfortable with painting furniture. 9 times out of 10, I remove the hardware just like I showed you, and my client wants an open concept on the bottom, so we're gonna remove that door. I am going to update the hardware. So I did clean the hardware with the same thing that I'm going to clean the body of this piece with. But I want to show you, when you are painting and spray painting hardware, you want to make sure, first of all, you shake your can really well, you prime it like you saw me do, and you want to go over it in thin coats. You don't want to sit there with the can over top and just spray with a thick coat to where you're having dripping. So thin layers in this kind of wisping motion is what I'm doing, is much better than just globbing it all on there. It's going to make it last longer, and it's going to make it look more professional. I like to wait for each side to completely dry, and then I'll rotate the piece of hardware, and then I will do the same exact thing. I'm going to allow it to dry, and then I'll rotate the hardware. I always seal it. So this is a clear matte sealer, and it's the same exact process. I do light coats, and then I let it dry on this side, then I'll put it on the other side, and I'll apply a coat of this. And I'll probably do this a couple times just because I really want this hardware to last. The prep for this piece is really no different than the prep for any piece that I'm going to paint, but I'm going to walk you through it. So I'm going to clean this entire piece with GREENEZ Cleaner, which is the same thing I used for the hardware. You can find it in the description below. But I'm always going to clean my pieces, because you just never know. Even if it looks clean or it's been sitting in your house, there's dust and dirt and oils from your hands. You really need to clean it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to scuff sand this entire piece. So if you're going to use a grit, I'm going to use about a 120 to 220 grit to scuff sand this entire piece to give it some kind of bite so that it's ready for the primer. Now what I'm doing is I'm using a 2-part wood filler like a Bondo, and I am going to fill those holes from the door we removed, because we want this to look like that door was never there in the first place. So I'm going to push that filler into the holes, and then I'm going to smooth it over the holes. I let the filler dry for about an hour, although it starts setting up in about 10 minutes. So you don't have a ton of time to work with this before it starts setting up, which is something I really like because it hardens really fast. But at the same time, if you've got a lot of holes, don't over mix it. Just mix what you need, and that way it doesn't harden and you waste it. So I just mixed a little bit in here so I could fill all these holes, and then I'm going to allow it to sit for about an hour, and then I'm going to go in with a 120 and then a 220 grit, and I'm going to smooth it all out. I'm going to be using Wise Owl Stain Eliminating Primer, and I'm using the dark gray because we are going to be painting this black. Using the dark gray primer for dark colors is better. It also allows you to get better coverage for the darker colors, and this is also, so this is a stain eliminating primer, but this is also going to be a good barrier between your piece and your paint to allow your paint to really stay on there. The color I'm going to use is the Chalk Synthesis paint line, and this is their color, black. What's more simple than that? Black. So I'm going to take a mister bottle, and I'm going to take one of Wise Owl's oval brushes, which is a synthetic brush. I'm going to mist the drawer, so that way we have some moisture to help this paint kind of move a little bit easier. And I'm going to do thin layers. So I'm going to go around the drawer, and I'm going to get all of the edges first. And then I'm going to do long strokes going horizontal. I know on the screen it looks vertical, but remember, I'm sitting in front of this drawer. So I'm going to be doing horizontal strokes. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over it in a vertical fashion. And what that does is when I do the horizontal, right? Then when I do all the vertical, it's going to push and spread the paint a little bit more. And then I'm going to do one final stroke going horizontal down the drawer, and you'll see I'm kind of overlapping. So right now I'm doing vertical, and this is allowing it to spread in places where I didn't catch it, and going horizontal didn't catch it. Now I'm going to go horizontal again very lightly, and what this does is it allows the paint to completely spread and cover your piece, as well as give you a really nice smooth finish. If we're going to have open shelving, we really need it to be fashion. So we're going to use Redesign with Prima's Geo Diamond Decor Transfer. So first of all, I wanted to see, does it look good? And I think it's going to match the hardware really nicely. So what I did is I cut all the edges so that I could fit it on there, and I just fit this to that little section. And we are going to have to butt another section up to it to fill the entire back. But this is one sheet, so the width, and then it's a little bit longer, so I had to cut a little bit off the length, but it fit almost the whole back. And so what I'm going to do is put that in there, and then I'm going to burnish it with my hand, and then I'm going to take my transfer tool, and I'm going to carefully burnish it, pull it away, burnish it, pull it away. And once I get about halfway down and I have a lot of plastic that doesn't have a transfer on anymore, I feel like it gets in my way, so I take scissors and I cut that away, and then I carefully just continue the process. I want to show you a little trick that I learned over the years of doing transfers. So we have to butt this pattern up next to the other one, but we've removed the plastic from the other side, and we don't want to burnish that and scratch it, right? So what we're going to do is we have fit that in, we're going to mark it, we're going to line it up, and then I take a piece of the plastic that I've taken off the other part of the transfer, and I'm going to overlap that. So I'm overlapping that on the piece of the transfer that still has the protective backing and the transfer that we have pulled the protective backing on. And that way we don't scratch the transfer, but we're able to still burnish it without scratching the transfer on the other side. This helps protect it, and it helps you burnish everything. And that's what I do when I have to line up patterns with each other. I use an extra piece of plastic to do that so that I can protect it. After the entire transfer has been put on the piece, I'm going to take a microfiber cloth and I'm going to burnish it, also rub it a little bit more so that I know that it's adhered to the surface. We do have to seal this, so I'm going to seal this here in a couple minutes, but you do need to seal your transfers. It doesn't matter if you put it over an all-in-one paint. Yes, the paint has a sealer built in, but the transfer doesn't. Once I'm done with the transfer, I'm going to go over the entire piece and smooth out all of the paint. I am using a super fine 1/2 inch pad with my 3x4 electric gray by Surf Prep. So you're going to want to use probably a 220 grit or higher. I will take all the excess dust off with a microfiber cloth, And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with Wise Owl's 1 Hour Enamel Clear and Matte, and I'm going to seal the transfer. So remember I told you we have to seal it. So I'm going to seal this transfer in, and I'm just going to make sure I cover the entire thing so that way it is nice and sealed and it's in there to last. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I seal this black furniture. I'm going to use 1 Hour Enamel and Clear Matte, and I'm going to take one of Wise Owl's oval brushes, which is a synthetic brush, and I'm going to just do thin coats. Now, I want to make sure this is very, very nice and sealed and protected, right? And so I am going to go in long strokes in the same direction, but these are very thin layers. And 1 Hour Enamel in the clear and the paint, it self-levels really, really nice. So just give it a chance to self-level. I did take all the drawers out because I felt like when they were sitting the way they are now, it gives it even more chance to self-level because it's not fighting against gravity. So I'm going to put this on the entire piece and I'm going to allow it to completely dry before we move on to the next step. You can do the next step first if you want. You need to figure out what's best for you and what you're more comfortable with when it comes to this. So I am going to take my Surf Prep and I'm going to take the very fine pad and I'm just going to scuff it all. That way I can smooth out any strokes that there might be, but there's probably not going to be. And I'm going to get it ready for the second layer of sealer. So I'm putting a little bit of my black chalk synthesis paint into my 1 Hour enamel. So these are both water-based, so you can mix it in. And what we're doing is we're trying to tint that. You do not need a lot of paint. All we're trying to do is tint that 1 Hour enamel, so that way we can go over the chalk synthesis paint. Now, Wise Owl does have a 1 Hour enamel line that already has a top coat built in, but the chalk synthesis paint does not. So that is why this is needing to be sealed. So I'm going to put this on a paper plate, and I'm going to take a sponge and I'm going to use that, but I'm going to wipe everything off with a microfiber cloth. Then I'm going to take a tacked cloth, which is sticky, and it's going to get any little flyaways. And I'm going to make sure this is wax and silicone free, because if it's not wax and silicone free, it can cause adhesion problems for any water-based paints, top coats, stains, what have you. So I'm going to dip this sponge into the paper plate, and then I'm going to wipe off all the excess, and I'm still going to do thin layers just like I did with the brush, but we're using a sponge. And I'm going to overlap each line just ever so slightly, stay in the same direction, and this is what's going to give us a really nice finish. You can absolutely use the brush as well. You could use the sponge for the first part. I just wanted to show you different tools to use. So it's up to you. If you're more comfortable with only using a brush, go for it. If you're more comfortable with only using the sponge, go for it. Okay everybody, so this piece is done. I hope that was helpful for those of you guys who are just starting out, and maybe if you're not just starting out and you want to know how to use Wise Owl paint and do it on a non-wood surface. Now, if you don't use Wise Owl paint, you're still gonna wanna use the same process. You always wanna use a primer. It doesn't matter what it is, I always clean, scuff sand, and prime when I'm doing non-wood surfaces. There are adhesion primers out there, but that's not necessary, especially when you're using a chalk-like paint. And these are furniture paints, so they are meant to work with furniture. So this is Wise Owl, but again, if you have a different brand that you like to use, then you can use the same process. This piece right here is an Ashley furniture, and some Ashley furniture is solid wood. This is more of a particle board, so you still can paint particle board. Maybe you're on a budget, maybe you just moved into a new apartment, maybe you got some furniture and you wanna lighten up your space. You guys can absolutely do this. Again, this is my clients, they didn't wanna buy a whole new set, and so I did this for them. I also did matching nightstands that look exactly like this, and then I'm going to do their bed. But it's all gonna be the same process. I hope you guys enjoyed that. I'm sorry for the way I look. I look like I just worked out, because I did just work out. It's all about balance, everybody. It's all about balance. All right, guys, have an amazing day, and I will see you in the next video. Have a great week, and I'll see you later. Bye.
I watch you as you drive. Do you know I'm looking? And I can't help but smile. Do you know how much I love you? You put my favorite song on, I put my feet up, and we just sing along. And I can't help but feeling, just loving this moment. Can we stay here forever? I'm loving this moment. Can we stay here together? If I could stop the time